In Venom Wars, back in Manhattan, we find Logan at a bar as he's chopping it up with some of the civilians until this kid accidentally hits a pool ball into his face. Now the kid is like, oh shit, but Logan simply tips his hat to the kid. Now once the kid realizes it's Wolverine, the kid goes into the back and gets on the phone in order to fan out. But as the kid is on the phone telling his friends he just met Wolverine, he's attacked by a symbiote. But as Wolverine is at the bar talking to the civilians, he gets hit by several more pool balls. When Wolverine turns around, he's stunned to find a symbiote has just bonded with that kid. One of the zombiotes goes to attack Wolverine, and Wolverine impales it with a pool stick. Wolverine immobilizes the zombiote and then reaches out trying to help the kid as he knows the kid is still in there. But unfortunately for Wolverine, the zombiote would once again leap forward and attack him, and Wolverine would impale the creature on a stick once again. As Wolverine downs this creature, some of the symbiote splatters onto his face and then proceeds to bond with him, turning him into something different. The symbiote turns Logan into a Wolverine version of a zombiote. Wolverine has bonded with a symbiote before, but he can sense that this is different. He can feel the symbiote pulling at him. This symbiote has been dead before. Wolverine goes on a rampage and finds himself face down ass up in the snow. Wolverine is discovered by this kid Flynn and his mother Emily. Luckily for Wolverine, he puked out the symbiote back at a cemetery. As Logan recovers, he notices Emily being abused by her husband, Keen. Keen threatens Emily, so Wolverine confronts him. But as soon as Wolverine confronts him, Keen starts threatening Logan, putting his fingers in Logan's face. Logan would go on to sever those fingers. Keen would then grab a knife and attempt to cut Logan, but Logan would sever that hand. Logan showed mercy as Emily begged him to stop. For the next few days, Logan would stay and recover. But elsewhere at Baylight Cemetery, where Logan puked up the symbiote, zombiotes start to arise from the grave, and they just so happen to be under the control of Keen, who wants revenge on Wolverine. Now, years before the Venom War, Keen would take Flynn on a boat. As it turns out, Keen was acting as a loan shark, as he planned to dump this man into a whirlpool for unpaid debts. Flynn begs his father not to drop the man, and Flynn grabs onto him. But Keen simply tells Flynn if the man's life is worth saving, then you'll find a way. Unfortunately for Flynn, he did not find a way. But in present time, Logan can tell Flynn is distraught at his father leaving. Logan goes to give Flynn some words of endearment, letting Flynn know he needs to decide what type of man he wants to be. But elsewhere in the Baylight Cemetery near the bridge, Keen has amassed an army of zombiotes, and he plans to go kill Wolverine. But back at the inn, Wolverine hangs with Emily as he begins to pop a bottle of wine. But then Wolverine smells something foul. Zombiotes crawl in the building, attempting to attack the couple. Wolverine puts claws to Zombiote, but more zombiotes appear. Wolverine slices at the zombiotes as he activates his tracking beacon. One of the zombiotes binds Emily in a web, but Wolverine cuts her free and then puts claws to Zombiote. As they make their way outside, Flynn yells to Wolverine what the hell did he bring to his home. But as Flynn has his back turned, one of the zombiotes creeps up on Flynn. But the zombiote backs off as Keen appears, and the zombiote is under his control. Emily attempts to talk some sense into Keen, but Keen gets into her face, threatening her once again. Flynn tells Keen to get the hell away from his mom. But in Keen's eyes, if you're not with him, you're against him, so Keen proceeds to sick the zombiotes on his family. But before they can do any damage, the X-Men arrive, absolutely decimating the zombiotes. Keen attempts to take Emily hostage, but Wolverine severs Keen's head. As everybody gets a moment of brief reprieve, the X-Men ask Wolverine if he'll be leaving with them. But Wolverine decides to stay as he wants to make sure Emily is okay. But upstairs, in Flynn's room, he holds the severed symbiote head of his father. As he thinks about Wolverine saying he needs to decide what type of man he's going to be, the symbiote's severed head begins to bond with him. The next day, after Wolverine has made sure Emily's okay, Logan decides it's time for him to hit the road. Logan's sad to be leaving as he feels as though he's running away, but Logan knows trouble follows him. But as Logan's driving away, he realizes he forgot to speak to Flynn, as he may not be the best influence, but he would rather influence Flynn than something much worse. But as Wolverine returns to the inn, he smells something foul, the inky black death stench of a symbiote. Wolverine follows that scent all the way to the cemetery. But as Wolverine claws his way up the mountain, he's confronted by a small army of zombiotes. Standing amongst them is symbiote Flynn, having bonded with the severed head of his father. And to make things worse, they've taken Emily captive as they have her bound in web. As Wolverine is being overwhelmed by zombiotes, Flynn makes his way over to a riverboat, killing the 2 sailors on board. Wolverine finally manages to claw his way free, and Wolverine goes after Flynn, leaping into the water after them. But as Wolverine is made of adamantium, he quickly sinks to the bottom and begins to drown. But luckily for Wolverine, his advanced healing factor brings him through a cycle of drowning and undrowning, as Wolverine claws his way through the bottom of the ocean towards Zombie Flynn. Zombio Flynn takes Emily to that same whirlpool where he was forced to drop that man when he was younger. Flynn binds Emily to a pole, but luckily for Emily, Wolverine has arrived as he cuts Emily free. But as Wolverine proceeds to go one-on-one with symbiote Flynn, Wolverine gets violently impaled by the symbiote. Symbiote Flynn attempts to bite Wolverine's head off, but it's no use as Wolverine is adamantium. But part of the symbiote does begin to bond with Wolverine as he's being overpowered. But luckily for Wolverine, he gets some backup in the form of Emily, who just so happens to have a sonic pistol. Emily blows the symbiote off of Flynn, with the severed symbiote head falling into the whirlpool. But as the boat hits the whirlpool, Emily and Flynn also begin to fall inside. But luckily, they're saved by a symbiote Wolverine. Wolverine pukes up the symbiote and then proceeds to swim to the dock with Emily and Flynn. Wolverine sits for a moment to recover from the trauma he's just been through. Now Emily knows there's a symbiote outbreak in Manhattan, and she asks Wolverine if he has to go help. But Wolverine tells Emily for the time being, he's going to try to sit here until this all blows over. The end. Thank you for watching.